What is an oscillator? In synthesizers, an oscillator is a circuit that produces a repeating shape called a waveform. For example, here in the 70s ARP Odyssey there are two oscillators, each with a choice of saw or square. The square in mine is not so square, probably from aged components. The square wave also has a pulse width control. But how does it work? Well, first we must take it apart. These are pretty easy to disassemble and work on, which isn't as common in modern synths. You just have to remove the bottom, then the key bed to get at the circuit boards. This is the interconnect board. It carries signals between the circuit boards. And here we have it. This is what we were after. Board B. This is the one with the oscillators on it. It also has the LFO and the sample and hold circuit. This is the component side of the board, and this is the solder side of the board. And for the most part, this is where the components that make up the oscillator are. Namely, Q4 and Q5 right here, who are two separate transistors which have been thermally coupled. Together they form a linear voltage to exponential current generator. This is a circuit where for every volt at the input, the current doubles through the output. That helps turn the linear keyboard voltage into a current used to set the pitch of the oscillator. As we know about audio, every octave is a doubling in frequency, so this doubling in current per volt will cause the oscillator to double in frequency with every volt applied at the input. C12 is the integrating capacitor in this oscillator circuit. It's a 680 picofarad mica capacitor. It begins charged at 15 volts and then drains current through R51 into the collector of Q5 at a rate determined by the voltage on the base of Q4. Z1 is a CD4011, which is a quad NAND gate. Here labeled Z1D, one of the NAND gates is being used as a comparator. When the voltage across the integrating capacitor falls below 7.5 volts, the output of Z1D goes from 0 to 15 volts. This turns on Q10, Q7, and Q6, thus recharging the integrating capacitor back to 15 volts. This cycle continues over and over again at many hundreds or thousands of times per second depending on the pitch being played on the synth. So that accounts for the saw wave. It's just a capacitor being discharged and immediately recharged over and over again. But how about the square wave and pulse width control? Z1A and Z1C form an SR latch. This is a digital circuit where there is a set and reset input. Set raises the output from 0 to 1, and reset sets the output back to 0. Pin 1 is the reset input, and pin 8 is the set input. Pin 8 is being used as a comparator. It receives the saw wave, which was inverted by Q8, plus a DC voltage determined by the manual pulse width control potentiometer and modulation inputs. The added DC voltage changes the moment in the wave cycle when the comparator goes from low to high. When it goes high, the SR latch goes into the set state until the next reset is received. The earlier the set state is reached, the narrower the pulse width. And that concludes the video. Thanks so much for watching.